Welcome to Card Market Catalyst, your go-to source for everything related to football card investing. Whether you're tracking the latest market trends or looking for the next big prospect, we've got you covered. If you enjoy the insights, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the show, and follow us for all our future episodes.
All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're zeroing in on what is shaping up to be the most unpredictable and honestly the most lucrative group for sports card investors heading into the 2026 World Cup. We are breaking down Group B. This is where on-pitch expectations completely crash into card market realities. So is Group B actually the most exciting group in the whole tournament? Well, on the surface, you'd probably say, no way. I mean, we don't have those traditional giants here, right? No Brazil, no France, no Argentina eating up all the headlines. But if you're hunting for market inefficiencies, this lack of predictability is exactly where the smart money finds its edge. Where the casual fan just sees a lack of huge superstars, the savvy investor sees an absolute gold mine of undervalued talent. Okay, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the starting point for Group B. Then we'll hit Switzerland's underrated consistency, followed by Canada's overheated hype. After that, we'll look at the outsiders, Bosnia and Qatar. And finally, we'll wrap up with the absolute best card market investments. Let's get into it.
Starting off with Section 1, the starting point. Let's look at the big picture for Group B.
You know, every single one of these four nations brings a totally different narrative and risk profile to the table. Just looking at the sporting reality, we've got Switzerland sitting pretty comfortably at an 80% probability to advance. Canada is right on their heels at 70%, Bosnia sitting at 40%, and Qatar rounds out the group at roughly 20%. Now, these on-pitch odds, they are the absolute foundation of everything we're going to talk about today. Because as you'll see, these sporting probabilities are on a collision course with their current market valuations. Moving right along to Section 2, Switzerland and their incredibly underrated consistency. So Switzerland is essentially the silent favorite here. They're anchored by this deeply experienced, just rock-solid midfield core of Xhaka, Zakaria, and Freuler. And look at the sporting reality. They've reached the knockout stages in the last 3 World Cups, plus they had a really strong run at Euro 2024. But juxtapose that against the market reality, they are wildly undervalued. They get just a fraction of the hobby love compared to a team like England or Spain. You've literally got players with top 5 European League profiles completely flying under the collector radar just because they wear the Swiss kit. Because of that incredible midfield and their solid defensive foundation, we're giving Switzerland a tournament potential score of 8.5 out of 10. They genuinely possess the most complete squad in this group and are highly favored to advance. But what does that actually mean for your portfolio? Well, let's break down the specific market actions. Younger talents like Ardon Jashari and Dan Ndoye, those are clear buys right now. They are at that perfect age where a strong World Cup performance can exponentially multiply their market value. We're holding solid performers like Akanji, but definitely take a look at those sell recommendations. Older stars like Granit Xhaka, look, despite being phenomenal players, their card values have pretty much peaked. The market already knows exactly who they are, so there's really no surprise upside left to capture. Our core thesis for Switzerland boils down to this. If Switzerland reaches the quarterfinals, the market will likely react with surprise, although sporting-wise, it's perfectly realistic. And honestly, this disconnect between expected on-pitch success and market surprise, that is the textbook definition of a value play. All right, on to Section 3, Canada. Are we looking at overheated hype? Make no mistake, this is unequivocally Canada's golden generation. They easily have the highest star power in Group B. The sporting reality is super thrilling. Alphonso Davies and Jonathan David are massive global names, and they've got that huge home continent advantage. But let's be real for a second. Historically, Canada has never won a single World Cup match. Now contrast that with a market reality that is, frankly, slightly overvalued. Investors have already aggressively priced a historic, deep tournament run right into their current card values. So, we're giving Canada a tournament potential score of 8.0. The raw talent is absolutely undeniable, and the energy in those stadiums is going to be electric. But as an investor evaluating risk, you cannot forget that they are still chasing their first ever World Cup victory on the pitch, even while their cards are priced like they're seasoned tournament veterans. Breaking down the Canadian market, you'll notice global superstar Alphonso Davies is listed as a hold. Why? Simply because his entry cost is already astronomical. The highest percentage gains are hiding elsewhere. You're going to want to target dynamic strikers like Jonathan David, or younger, under-the-radar talents like Promise David, where the buy-in is much lower and the ceiling is way, way higher.
The crucial takeaway here is this. Canada has enormous potential, but the market has already priced in a lot of the future. And I really want to warn you here. If Canada only reaches the round of 16, which by the way would be a historic achievement for them on the pitch, the overhyped card market might actually view it as a financial disappointment. That could cause prices to dip. That right there is the danger of an overheated market. Moving to Section 4, Bosnia and Qatar. Let's talk about the outsiders. This is where the highest risk, and honestly, the absolute highest potential reward are hiding. Comparing these two outsiders is super fascinating. Take Qatar. Yes, they're the Asian Cup winners, but they really lack the individual quality to consistently beat European teams. Because of that, their market valuation is incredibly fair. Investors expect very little, and the prices reflect exactly that. But then consider Bosnia. They are a dangerous, high-intensity wildcard, and they are heavily undervalued. For most collectors, Bosnia is practically a blind spot, which creates a phenomenal risk-to-reward ratio for us. When we analyze the Bosnian opportunities, the strategy is pretty clear. You've got to move past the aging legends like Ardon Jashari. The hobby has already moved on. Instead, focus your buys on their aggressive, intense younger generation, guys like Amar Dedić and Ermedin Demirovic. If Bosnia actually springs a trap and manages to get out of this group, the multipliers on these cheap, young cards are going to be absolutely astronomical. Just briefly touching on Qatar's limited market, Akram Afif is pretty much the lone standout buy here. But I do have to caution you, Qatar has a very small international collector base. So even if Afif has an absolutely brilliant tournament, that lack of global collector demand acts as a hard cap on his overall financial upside, at least when you compare him to European or North American players. All right, Section 5, the best investments at our top card market picks. We've reached the best part of this explainer. It is time for our definitive top 5 true sleepers across Group B. Number 1, Promise David from Canada. 2, Johan Manzambi from Switzerland. 3, Nathan Saliba from Canada. 4, Kerim Alajbegović from Bosnia. And number 5, Esmir Bajriktarović, also from Bosnia. Now, why these 5? Because they aren't the main storyline of their teams yet. There is practically zero premium baked into their current prices. They possess explosive surprise potential. If they secure even a few tournament minutes and just flash their talent, their demand will skyrocket overnight from a baseline of basically zero. All of this builds into the ultimate dynamic of Group B. On one side, you have the biggest upside in Bosnia. Escaping the group stage could massively spike the prices for their overlooked youth, primarily because the entry cost right now is literally pennies. On the exact opposite end of the spectrum, you have the biggest risk in Canada. The hype is absolutely deafening, and failing to meet those astronomical, historic expectations could legitimately crash an overconfident, overpriced market. Which brings us to our final thought. Based on all the structured data, the tactical realities, and the market discrepancies we've just unpacked today, will you ride the Canada hype and pay the premium, or are you going to take the Bosnia risk and hunt for that ultimate multiplier? The data is in your hands. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I can't wait to explore the next market inefficiency with you soon.
Thanks for listening to Card Market Catalyst. If you enjoyed today's deep dive into football card investing, make sure to like and subscribe.